So I am Sophie Brannon, and today I'm going to be talking a little bit more about product pages and PDPs. And the reason for that really is because they tend to be forgotten a lot by SEOs. They don't tend to rank for the really big commercial terms, the ones with all the high search volumes, but there's a lot of hidden things in product pages that we can improve as SEOs and with a lot more of commercial thinking that can really benefit your overarching strategy. So the different areas I'm going to be talking about is going to be around why these PDP pages are so important, how you can really optimise these PDPs, and when you should consider optimising them as part of your strategy as well. So let's kick off. Why are PDP pages actually important? So why am I standing up here telling you about this today? There's four main areas when it comes to your product pages that I really like to focus on. And you're probably sitting there looking at these going, but Soph, they're not really SEO stuff, but let me dive into them and I'll kind of explain how they are. The first thing is trust. Then it's an opportunity to highlight your USPs, looking at purchases, looking at the bottom of the conversion funnel, and return rates as well. So we'll start off with trust. Obviously, when we're looking at product pages, EEAT, trust, huge part of what we're doing with SEO. But alongside that, it's all about nurturing people. It's about making sure that they're really able to find all of the information that they need on your product pages just before they're about to purchase. And it gives you the opportunity to really anticipate those questions, their concerns, and minimise doubt. People are taking so much longer than ever before when it comes to doing the research, comparing different types of products, looking at you, looking at your competitors, making sure you've got everything you can possibly put on a product page that's going to help to answer their questions. It's really going to help to build trust in your brand. And outside of price and outside of shipping, if that's exactly the same as your competitors, what are you doing that's different that's going to make people purchase from you? And having that information there to answer their questions is really going to help with them converting. It also really gives you an opportunity to show off your customer reviews, UGC content, the different areas that people are looking at more and more now that's going to get them to convert. Whether that's actually pulling in from, I don't know, Yotpo, Trustpilot, things like that, whether it's star ratings, whether it's actual imagery to make it more obvious for people what that product looks like, what the product's purpose is, how they can particularly use it. All those different elements are things that's going to help them to convert and should really be part of your SEO strategy overall. Here's a really great example from a company called Cupshe, who sell swimwear for women. And very kind of standard, pulling in reviews from maybe Yotpo or Trustpilot, something like that. A nice widget right at the bottom of the page, tends to be further down past the product description, things like that. But one of the things that really interests me about this example is they're using real life examples from people that have uploaded them as part of their reviews. Now, I don't know, particularly women in the audience, one of my biggest concerns when I'm buying swimwear online is it actually going to fit? And you know what? A size guide isn't always going to be the best option for me. So seeing what it actually looks like on a real person and not just on a model, that's a really important part. And it's especially really important when we're looking at kind of female empowerment, different areas like that. What does that actually look like? So pulling these different kind of areas in is really going to help to build that trust with your brand. So product pages can also help to build out your USPs. What makes you different from your competitors? This is particularly important when it comes to smaller businesses who don't have an innovative product that maybe they're pushing to market with. It could be that you're bringing actual products from different suppliers that all of your competitors are actually bringing through as well. You really need to highlight what makes you different and what features make your product stand out, even if it's exactly the same product that all of your other competitors are selling as well. And there's a whole bunch of different elements that you could potentially use. Again, if your pricing is the same, if your shipping options are exactly the same as your competitors, what can you offer your customers to make them want to purchase from you? Is it that you can customize them on your website? Are you a family-run business but your competitors are not? That could be a really good emotional connection with your customers. Is there more versatile usage that maybe you've tested that product with that your competitors haven't, or at least they haven't made that very obvious or haven't made that very aware on their website? Is it limited edition? Do you offer a money-back guarantee? Do you offer faster shipping or cheaper shipping or something like that compared to your competitors? Use your product pages to really highlight all of this. And Dyson do a really good job of this. And of course, it's a bit different with Dyson. They're a big brand. They sell their own products. They're pushing really to get people to purchase it directly on their website rather than through a different supplier. But one of the things they do on their product pages is pointing out things like, this is why you should buy directly from the people who made it. The free next day delivery, you can spread the cost, you can personalise it, there's a money back guarantee. They highlight all of the different elements of that particular product above the fold, just right next to the pictures there. And this is just a screenshot of above the fold for this product page. They also highlight PayPal options as well. You can split the payments, spread the cost, making it a lot more of an attractive option to people who can't necessarily purchase that outright. So take away some of these different examples and maybe apply that to some of your product pages as well. And now let's talk about purchases. According to a study by Salesify, 94% of respondents said that they will actually abandon a site if they cannot find the information that they need. And as I said, the actual conversion journey is taking a lot longer now than it ever did before. So people are looking for more information. Don't worry too much about bogging down your product page with too much of a description or too much information. Obviously, you need to make sure it's user-friendly. You need to make sure that it's structured in a really, really nice way. Maybe look at accordions, look at how this is spread out throughout the entire page. But make sure that that information is there and it's accessible, because if you're answering their questions, you're answering their concerns, you're able to provide them with that information, it's going to limit the amount of time they're spending on your competitors' websites trying to find it. Target do a very good job of this too. They give as much information as possible, and again, it does kind of look like a standard e-com page, but let me just break it down a little bit. They've got all of these different types of product images. They've got the actual product images that they've either sourced from the manufacturer or they've put up on there themselves. They've also got some UGC images there, which you can see, I think it's the fourth picture down. They've got different options for shipping, all above the fold, stuff that maybe you can pick it up. Is it delivery? All of those different options that you've got. The different colour options, look how accessible that is. The different sizes, the different price options, the fact that it's on sale, things like that. All of this information needs to be accessible, because otherwise people are going to spend more time looking around and seeing what your competitors are doing as well. And returns. Now this is a really big thing, and again, you're probably thinking, Sophie, this isn't really SEO. Like, once a customer's purchased from our website, like, I don't really care. But actually your PDP pages can have a significant impact on return rates. So the average e-com return rate, according to Shopify, is between 20 to 30%, which doesn't mean a whole lot, but it's pretty high, right? But to actually quantify that, so a study, I think it was 2022, by the National Retail Federation, said that for every 1 billion in sales, the average retailer incurs $165 million in merchandise returns. That's a really big impact on your bottom line. So what can we be doing as SEOs and content marketers and just marketers generally to help reduce that? Well, looking at this is a source from, I can't even say it, Statistica, but looking at all of the different areas that actually returns rates impact, it is across the board. Now, you would expect things like clothing, bags, accessories, shoes, things like that, naturally going to be a little bit higher, but people return food and drink, they return stuff to do with pets, stationery, supplies, everything has a potential return rate. And there's a whole different reasons why. The item was damaged or defective, it doesn't fit, item doesn't match the description on the website, they don't like the item, they've ordered multiple items and sizes, the items arrived late. There's all of these different reasons as to why people are returning these items. There's only so much you can do to influence this as an SEO and a marketer, right? You're not in the warehouse, you're not the shipping people, you can't decide whether or not an item's going to be damaged, or you're not throwing it on the back of a truck, things like that. But the things you can potentially influence are things around the item doesn't fit and the item doesn't match the description. And this is where your product pages really come into play. So you may be thinking as well, item doesn't fit. If people have ordered the wrong size, like, what's that got to do with me? Look at how you're presenting your size guide and your sizing information. And this isn't clothing, this is an example from Wayfair, it's furniture. But look how detailed the different sizing options are and how all of that is measured. It's all in centimetres, it's broken down in a visual, it's broken down in other dimensions table. It's got everything you could potentially possibly give to people for them to actually measure that up themselves. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not going to make your returns rate for item being the wrong size to 0, because people, A, definitely measure things wrong, and B, when it comes to clothing, we all get a little bit excited and we all definitely want to think we're, I don't know, a size 0 or a size 2, maybe we're not. But hey-ho, we can give people as much information as possible as long as it's actually accurate. And there's so many examples, particularly of retail brands, that don't have that accurate element to it. And another example is, the item doesn't match description. So obviously, optimising your descriptions, making sure they're detailed, all of these different areas, but giving people this information in very visually as well as actual content can really help. And Nike do a really good job of this. They use UGC, they use more of the influencer style and different things like that, but actually it helps to show you how that looks on your feet, for example, with trainers from Nike, but with anything, show them visually what that's going to look like. So this is all well and good, but how does this actually influence your SEO? Because I'm kind of talking a little bit more generally about marketing and about commercial side of things. Well, first of all, making sure that you've got really strong product pages can actually help to get your products indexed. You may not think that this is a priority, considering a lot of the time product pages rank for very kind of low search volume terms. But don't forget that what we're trying to do as SEOs is not just rank for the highest search volume terms that we possibly can. We want to impact bottom line. We want to impact revenue. And a lot of the time, that's targeting people who are right at the bottom of the funnel too. So if you can make more unique descriptions, you can make better product pages with better imagery, different areas like that, that's really going to help to get your products indexed. And it can also impact how well your product ranks generally in search results too. So it's all well and good just getting your product page indexed, but as long as you're making sure you've got really well optimized and really detailed pages that are better than your competitors, and you're not just copying from suppliers, you're not just, looking at what your competitors are doing and just going copy paste, that's exactly what we're going to do. Really utilize and look at what your audience is looking for, how they're comparing your products, and what you can then do to really help your product to rank in search results. And it can also really help to improve your overall click-through rate from search results. And the reason for that is because Google's changing. It's not the same as it ever used to be with your 10 blue links. And one of the biggest changes that I've noticed, and that I'm seeing a lot more working with rush order tees in America, is the introduction of organic search and organic shopping listings. Now, this is something that we're seeing a lot in the US, and we're also seeing a lot of that in the UK as well as Australia and Canada and Japan, but we're seeing this so much more. If I just flick back a quick slide, you can see we've got our 4 listings, normal listings at the top, image carousels and things like that. Then we've got some videos. I haven't touched on video content yet, but I think we're all well versed in knowing that video content is really good for us. But then we've got this big block of organic shopping listings. Now, that's influenced by your Merchant Center feed, but making sure that your product pages, your PDPs, are highlighting everything you want them to know and everything that basically people need to know about your product to get them to convert. That will really help if you're showing up in these organic shopping listings too, because it's not just more clicks, it's also that conversion process too. So within the top 10 pages for this commercial term, red shoes, we've got 2 blocks of organic shopping listings and only 8 standard category pages. So making sure your product pages are well optimized can really help with this conversion and overall click-throughs. Another example of this is something to keep in mind, not necessarily something to worry about, as I'm not certain of this, but I'm pretty sure that this is going to change a lot, but generative AI in search results. For a lot of commercial terms now, if you're seeing the generative AI search come up, a lot of the time you've got a little description and then you've got product pages. For terms like, in this case, men's jeans, which I'm sure many of you know, that would normally be your PLPs, your category pages that would rank for such a high head term. So when it comes to generative AI, keep this in mind, do test, see what's kind of coming up, but product pages are potentially going to become a lot more important. And the more I work with e-com companies, the more I'm starting to see Google's preference towards either product pages or pages that have some sort of product on them that people can convert from versus a standard PLP or category page. So how do we optimize these? High quality images, 360-degree views and interactive try-ons. Now, again, we're not SEO, or sorry, we are SEOs, we're not graphic designers, we don't produce the imagery. A lot of the time this is taken from suppliers. But do what we can to influence that. Make sure we're saying to the people in charge of the imagery, we need to make sure that we have really high quality images. If we can, and if there is budget for this e-com site, look at 360-degree views, look at interactive try-ons, integrate these different kind of features, because it's going to set you apart from your competitors, and again, it gives people a lot more information on the website. And when it comes to high-quality images, be a bit creative with it. Provoke a bit more of an emotional connection with people. This is an example from Pura Vida, and they actually sell bracelets and jewellery. This particular type of jewellery is around, I think you purchase it and a percentage of that goes to an animal welfare charity. So they've got pictures of really cute, lovely dogs. And if there's anything with a dog on it, I'm probably personally going to buy it, to be honest. So making sure that you're kind of connecting with that emotional side to people, that's really going to help you. Another example is Anova. So they take imagery a little bit differently in terms of the way they lay this out. Normally on an e-com product page, you'll see kind of the rows of images at the top, or maybe it's just like a list down the side like we saw of Target early on. Anova actually use high quality imagery to complement their content throughout the page to give people more of that visual element. So really consider doing that as well. And the same with Silk Thread, they've got this virtual fitting room. So they're using AI to really try and give themselves a bit of a lift in comparison to a lot of other competitors. So if there's budget to do that, that's a great idea. And actually with these virtual try-ons and virtual fitting rooms and things like that, it makes it a lot harder for people to just copy paste your website. And it's something we've dealt with a few of our e-commerce sites where we're ranking really well in a competitive market and we're seeing people absolutely just wipe all of our content, take all of our images, put it on a brand new domain and start ranking. Not outranking us yet, but you never know. And that's quite a scary thing and Google hasn't cracked down on that just yet. So we need to make sure that that's also covered. So anything that can set you apart, that is difficult for people to copy, that's something that's really important. Useful product titles, descriptions and supporting information. Making sure you've got everything customers need to know, as I said earlier on, but display it in a way that's really consumable. Now, The Ordinary do this really well. They use icons, they use different kind of structures, different types of accordions. They have really nice bite-sized chunks of content that is actually a lot more helpful, rather than just content for content's sake, because as SEOs, we do content and that's great. Consider it from your user perspective too. And same with Target, that additional useful information. It's not just the content they're looking for about that particular product. It could also be how you style that product with other kind of complementary products on your site. So they use a similar Pinterest board style view. They say view boards, they put all of this together for you. You can buy everything as a collection, you can buy it individually. It just helps you to really visualize what that product's potentially going to look like. And Gymshark use a really nice treatment when it comes to their size guide. Now, size guides is something that, again, I mentioned, really important. People tend to return things that don't fit, but how you really display that size guide is difficult because a lot of people will put a link that goes somewhere else on the website or it's in the help center, it's quite hidden, something like that. Make it obvious, make it easy for people to use. They've got an interactive calculator on theirs as well that you can input your own measurements in, etc., etc. Make it accessible on that product page, stop diverting people's attention away. The other thing is to identify blocker keywords. So keywords that people potentially people are searching for, but it's stopping them from purchasing because they need a little bit more information. So an example of this is around hair toner. People are asking questions like, how long does toner last? What does a toner do to your hair? Does it damage your hair? Answer these questions on your product pages and you're going to potentially convert more people because they're not having to go to all of these different places to find those answers. And REI, I've heard many different ways to pronounce this, but they have a great questions and answer feature. This is actually all UGC questions, but you can set this up yourself in terms of FAQs too. So I'm running out of time, so I'm just going to go through these slides a little bit quicker. Clear stock information, pricing and shipping information. The majority of people like to know pricing and shipping. They are typically their two priorities when it comes to purchasing something. After that, it becomes the brand and it becomes the quality of the product too. So again, highlight your pricing. Is your pricing better than your competitors? Is your shipping better than your competitors? Really highlight all of that. Your stock information. have that element of FOMO. People are more likely to purchase. Leverage UGC and reviews. Again, pulling all of this information through is going to help people to convert. It makes that product more emotionally connected to you. It's less, here's just a model sitting there with their, I don't know, in this case, a hammock. It actually brings it to life, and that's really helpful. And again, same with Target. I've mentioned them a few times, but they do a really great job, so they're definitely one to look at. Add companion and related products. Amazon, always a really good option to look at when it comes to structuring how to add companion and related products. It helps people on their conversion journey. It helps you to cross-sell and upsell, and there's so many different ways that you can implement that as well. Make sure you've got really clean technical SEO, making sure the PDP is actually indexable, and this might be resonating with you a little bit more because it is definitely more of the SEO side. Fast loading speeds, making sure you've got breadcrumbs that actually make sense, and there's so many examples out there where they don't. You've got no CLS issues, so people are actually able to add to cart rather than trying to click the button, getting frustrated and bouncing. Make sure you're leveraging internal linking in your PDPs. Your URL structure isn't nonsense. Big thing, but again, difficult with a lot of e-com websites. Things actually work on the page. People can actually check out. You will be surprised at how many times that's not the case. I can hear some laughter in there, so there's definitely been some examples. Facet pages, so actual colour parameter pages, things like that Casper was mentioning earlier. If you are indexing them, make sure they're not causing loads of duplicate content issues, make sure you're not bloating out the website, make sure your canonicals are set up correctly. And most importantly of all, look at your mobile traffic. Look at the mobile version of your site. So many times as SEOs, we sit there, we're doing the work on our desktops, we're doing the work on our laptops. How often are we checking what that actually looks like or acts like on mobile? 60% or over 60% of e-com traffic comes from mobile. Keep that in mind, make that a big consideration. So when should you focus on PDPs? I promise I'm almost done. Consider your budget, your time, and your resource availability. This isn't going to be something that every business can potentially do straight away, and you may want to put that time and that resource and that budget into these more kind of head term pages, the ones that you want to rank in terms of driving more traffic. But don't forget that your product pages are the ones that's going to help people to convert and impact that bottom line. It also depends on your strategy and the overall priorities, as I said, depending on where you can allocate that budget. But the best thing to do is actually consider testing your top product pages, doing maybe a 50-50 split, do an A/B split test, whatever that looks like. Test it, showcase the value, rather than spending all of that time, budget and resource rolling it out across hundreds or thousands of different product pages. And remember that this isn't just an SEO exercise. There's a lot of stuff in here that is more around overarching commercial awareness. But as SEOs, we need to get out of that mindset of content technical links. There is so much more to managing an overarching marketing strategy. Impacting your product pages, providing better content, better imagery, better experience overall is also going to help your PPC, your social media, all of your other marketing channels to help that everything to convert a lot better. And there's a bunch of resources and sources that I linked to within the presentation, but some great ones from Brodie, Luke and Aleda there. I will share my slide deck on SlideShare and Speaker Deck later, but do what I've done with the presentation, just look around, look at all of these other different e-com websites, people who aren't necessarily in your industry, because there's a lot of learnings and a lot of sites that are doing things really, really well. And that's it, thank you.